Welcome to the second episode of the Factory Reset podcast. The entire reason for us starting this and the focus for the podcast always has been to talk about companies and startups and how they approach automation in Asia in sometimes very unique and different ways from how it is done in other markets like Europe or the US. Today we'll be speaking with Nirav, the founder and CEO of Nido, an amazing entrepreneur in the space of automation that I've been looking up to. I'm really excited and looking forward to the session. Let's dive right in. Nirav, thanks for joining us. Pleasure to have you here. Would love to get you to introduce yourself and Nido a little bit more before we jump into the session today.
Hi, Rahul. Thank you so much for having me on this session. So I am Nirav Doshi. I am the managing director and founder at Nido Machineries Private Limited. We are a Mumbai-based company focusing on intralogistics material movement solutions. And that's the entire range end to end, right from your basic material movement equipment to your complicated automation that could be with sortation, with robotics, and the works. The idea is to be able to cater to customers across the entire spectrum and handhold them through the journey. The idea is at Nido, we believe we begin with the customer that's small, that's looking for automation or some form of mechanization, help them with the mechanization, maybe upgrade them to some form of small automation, take them ahead with some form of software, and then take them to full-fledged automations. Nido is a 15-year-old company. We've had an interesting journey ourselves, and it began with me trying to figure out what the need in India is. So just to give a quick background on myself, I did my industrial and operations engineering from the US, moved back in 2008 and was figuring out how I could do something interesting in India post my education and some working in the US. Warehousing was booming. The segment seemed interesting. We were seeing a few large players dominating, a lot of customers doing things the old school way, and e-commerce was just about booming. There were no aggressive, wanting to make it big, wanting to make things happen sort of players in the industry because it was monopolistic. I saw an opportunity right there, and we said, you know what, it's worth giving it a shot. Let's see how the warehousing trend shapes up in India, and that's how we got started. So it's been an interesting journey over the last 15 years.
Amazing. Maybe I'm curious, there's a lot of different sectors to look at. Like what kind of keeps you motivated to look at warehousing as a sector and automation in that space more specifically?
First up, I was lucky to enter into warehousing when I did. Um, it happened by chance. It wasn't that it was timed to perfection, but it happened by chance that it happened to perfection. Warehousing in India was always looked down upon. It was something that was always some dirty spot, not kept clean, manual operations. Management never really cared for the warehouse, and logistics and intralogistics as a whole was nothing too standardized, nothing too concrete. It was more of an afterthought. With e-commerce booming, with a lot of your courier express parcels picking up, with a lot of your other um, e-commerce related businesses sprouting and people spending a lot more money, warehouses suddenly became a lot more important. Then came the whole omni-channel distribution network. While it was not a thing back in the day, it started getting spoken of a lot more in the last 8 or 9 years, where while earlier days was more about brick and mortar shopping. It then moved to online shopping, which then moved to a hybrid between online, offline. You shop somewhere, you pick up somewhere, you shop at a physical store, but your goods get delivered to you. The whole uh, strategy got a lot more complex for the people running the warehouses. Because of that, there became a lot bigger need for uh, standard processes, more software, and more automation within a warehouse because your loads increased, your number of packages that are being handled increased, your complexities increased, your customer demands increased. One thing led to another,
Hmm.
and the whole evolution of the industry became extremely interesting. While the evolution has happened, it is just the starting point in India. Every morning is a new challenge. There are a lot of problems that need to get solved, which are solvable if you look at it from the India lens. What used to happen back in the day was a lot of international solutions trying to be fit into the India story. While many people tried, it did not succeed in the midterm or the long run. If you look at the problems from an India lens, India perspective, it's a different set of problems that need to be solved in India. There is a lot to be done, very low hanging fruits, if you will. Uh,
Hmm.
and it's a new challenge every morning. So I think that is what keeps us very interested in the warehousing segment. There is growth, there is opportunity, there is a lot to be done. It's India specific problems which need to be solved, and there is not too many people who are looking at it from the exact same lens. There's a lot more who are looking at it from an outsider's perspective, bringing in solutions from outside into India, which bases our experience, we've learned and realized does not work completely. So if we are able to make something good for India, we believe there's a lot of other markets like India out there, which could benefit from what we make for India. For example, Southeast Asia, South America, a lot of your GCC countries, Southern Africa, uh, ripe markets to adapt to very India specific solutions, because their problems are in a way similar. There's a whole lot
Hmm.
of languages, a whole lot of manpower available, but that manpower is not uh, fully available or skilled enough. You can't really rely on the manpower even if it's available, which means your operations would get stalled. The geographies are big, are spread out, and there's a variety within the geographies. The ecosystem as a whole has not developed a lot in all of these geographies as well. What that means is, if you're giving some solution to your customers, or if they're trying to adapt some automation, if the ecosystem is not in place, you need to have a lot more trained manpower and brains on your side for it to succeed, which is not always the case. Hence, you can't go for very complex automation that could be the case for European markets, or for Europe, or for the US, or Japan, or Australia for that matter, right? So the
Hmm.
problems in these geographies could be similar to India. If we succeed in India, if we can make uh, and do well within India, India is a great opportunity. At the same time, you can do the same thing in markets outside of India as well.
Got it. Very interesting. I think you touched upon a point about even though resources are available, they may not be have the right skill set to make your operations consistent. And the complexity of the ecosystem, where it's not just a small city anymore, but India is a very vast country that makes operations complex. But apart from that, like to kind of delve into that deeper, you mentioned that the problems in India are very different from what you would face elsewhere. So apart from these two specific things about the manpower availability or the skill set of the manpower available, as well as the complexity of the country itself, what else are you seeing that is causing, like you pointed out, building very specific solutions that work in India, but where other solutions are from other parts of the world may not work in India yet? What else are you seeing that is causing that difference in design and approach?
So I'll link this point of yours with another point, which could be what sort of challenges are there in the
Hmm.
India market, which sort of links to your question as well, right? So the biggest problem in India is, because all of this is reasonably new, there is always a need in everyone's mind either to engineer a solution to the problem on their own. What that leads to is customization of a solution every time, as opposed to, if it's the exact same problem, you could use standardization in your process, standardization in your solutions within a warehouse for you to succeed. Now, because it is new, not a lot of people are used to standardization. It's a customized solution always, which leads to either increased costs, or errors in solutioning, or errors in deployment. Uh, this mindset change is where a big problem comes in, is point number one. Point number two is, uh, the entire thought process is around having solutions which have worked in other countries. Because of a lack of perspective, because of a lack of knowledge, and because of a lack of complete understanding of what the core problem is, everyone looks outwards to see what solution could work for them, without realizing that a solution that is made for India specific would work better for them. So it's more of a mindset problem. And the way we believe that this is making the challenge more India centric is the the scale is huge, the demand is huge, uh, which means there is possibility and potential to standardize the solutions. And if standardized, it can be scaled to a great extent given the number of people. For smaller markets which do not have automation, you cannot standardize beyond a point. It will not have that scale possible. India is different. So India doesn't have the automation in place as of right now. At the same time, it has the scale, which means you can standardize given the scales, but the mindset of the people are not letting for that to happen as quickly. The moment you're able to overcome that barrier, the moment you're able to win the trust of the consumers, one is their trust towards automation, second is their trust towards India specific automation developed in India for India. That's when the true change comes about. And as of right now, grappling with this problem of the mindset of the customers is the biggest bottleneck. The moment we're able to solve for it, the problem gets solved, in my opinion. And as of right now, that is the biggest differentiator in India, in my opinion, compared to automation being adopted in other countries. Purely because A, they might not have the scale to automate. B, even if they have the scale, they might not have the scale to standardize that automation. Hence, they would need to rely on outside solutions or technologies to be coming into their country. Another important point for India, which might not be true for many other upcoming markets, is there is a huge ecosystem of um, the brains and the engineering power to be able to do it. It's just that it needs to be channelized, which is not happening as much as of right now. But there is the potential to manufacture, to engineer, to research, to develop all of these solutions within the country. Hence, there is no need to look outside. The moment the mindset of people changes, that solutions from India for India developed can be trustworthy, they would be able to uh, get their Amazon level automation, not at Germany level pricing, but at India level pricing. And that's exactly what they're looking for.
Got it. Very interesting. I think I agree. So when you mentioned about products which are found to work inside of markets, are assumed to work in your specific use case, and that's kind of leads to like an assumption where you bring that product inside and things work smoothly, but it ends up not being the case. So we have seen a few examples of this in some of our customer cases where they bring an automated, let's say, a reach truck with the assumption that it works for all kinds of pallets. But like you pointed out, there's no standardization of process yet, which means all pallets are different types. Some are broken, some are damaged.
Yes.
It doesn't go live at all. I think in your experience, I think especially in the retail space, logistics space, have you seen examples of this where people have found something online, saw it working, let's say a facility in the US, and then brought it to India and then realized actually it's not working out at all? Have you seen examples of that?
There have been enough examples of the same. And like you rightly mentioned, right, it works in the other markets because there is standardization or some systems that the entire ecosystem follows, right? I'll give you an example. In the sortation world, we came across a customer where the customer was using automation that was brought in from Japan. Uh, Now, the automation on its own worked great. It did everything as long as the packages that they were handling were packaged nicely. Your barcode was not damaged. The barcode was visible clearly. The labels were a good quality, and the package did not roll over or have some random plastic sticking outside. Now, in the India express space, you have packages being packed by a lot of small vendors. The packaging might not be the best quality. Your barcode could be damaged. Your barcode might not be visible. Your barcode could be printed with very shabby ink, making it not detectable. And the package could not be a normal cube. It could be a very odd shape, which will not work on a sorter. The customer soon realized that automation is not the problem. It's what they are handling on the automation that is a problem. And their entire investment, it was a sizable investment. The entire investment was not giving them the returns purely because they had to manually pre-sort the packages and on the automation put in only the good packages and the bad packages were handled manually. Now, unfortunately, the bad packages percent was about 70% and good was 30%. Now, the market is improving, the industry is improving. We are seeing far better packages and barcoding now. But when they deploy that automation, the automation did not give them the ROI. In fact, it increased their entire expenditure, causing for them to scrap their entire automation, move to manual operations, and have the fear that, you know what, automation is not
Hmm.
good for us. Hence, we will
Yeah.
not adopt automation, not realizing that automation was not the problem. It was what they were handling and what sort of automation was chosen, where they tried to solution a solve for their needs as opposed to talking to experts who could give them the correct solution. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think great point. I mean, I think like you pointed out, typically automation comes after a certain point of creating processes which are possible to be automated. I think there's a lot of assumption that automation becomes a silver bullet that solves all problems.
Yeah.
But generally, a lot of building blocks before you get to that point. Which brings me something that you mentioned a little bit earlier about mechanization. And I'm
Correct.
assuming that you think of it very differently from automation. So when you speak to customers, at what point do you think that mechanization, which may not be full-fledged automation, makes more sense than an actually or fully automated process? And how do you walk customers through that journey of figuring that out?
So we've come up with, over the past 15 years of working with customers, we've come up with a certain few uh, algorithms or formulae in a way. The understanding for the kind of customers that we cater to, especially the warehouses within India, we're talking the bigger tier one cities, tier two, tier three cities as well. If your warehouse is anywhere under 30,000 square feet, um, no matter what sort of packages, no matter what sort of products you handle, uh, it is not big enough for you to go for full-fledged automation. While you could deploy full-fledged automation, you will not get the ROIs that you're expecting. If we do not get the ROIs over a point in time, there's going to be some level of frustration that automation is not working for us, which will take you down a very, very different road, which will not be conducive to the company. So if it's anything that is up to 30,000 square feet, where you need to move your pallets or goods in any manner, I believe you are right for mechanization. The moment you go above 30,000, uh, anything beyond 30,000 square feet in terms of your warehouse size, which means the number of packages that you are looking to handle is now significant. You have a significant number of loading bays and unloading bays. You have a significant amount of space for you to move goods over a larger distance. Logically, if it's anything about 30,000 square feet, you have a higher height on your warehouse as well. All of it leads towards automation making sense for you. Automation could help you. And anything that is above a 50,000 square feet, it is a no-brainer that you should adopt automation. It's not an option. It is a must that you should. What sort of automation and are you ready to adopt it is a different discussion. But anything above 50,000 square feet and a complete full-fledged automation is a must in our opinion. From an ROI perspective, from your continuity of business perspective, that you're able to serve all of your customers in a good manner. Because if you have that sort of a warehouse and if you do not have automation, manpower will make mistakes. If you do not have an ERP or a WMS or any software for that matter, there will be mistakes over an Excel or pieces of paper. You will not be able to manage it, and the scale is going to be such that if something does break, it will be extremely difficult to take care of it. Hence, we've come up with up to 30,000 mechanization, upwards of 30,000 you go towards automation in some manner, upwards of 50,000 square feet, you are guaranteed in for full-fledged automation. If you do not have it in place, we'll walk you through the entire journey and help you set the whole thing up with the processes that need to be in place, with what could go wrong and how you need to handle for those mistakes that could happen.
Got it. Very interesting. I think, and you also mentioned specifically that when it is above 50,000 square feet, it's an ideal condition to automate because of all the potential savings that you can have, not
Correct.
just from error, error rate reduction, process optimization. But you also mentioned that they have the right conditions, but may not be ready to adopt yet.
Correct.
So, in your perspective, what do you think is the right process or things that to be that need to be in place before automation comes into uh, a full value proposition for the user?
Fantastic. So, in my opinion, it's three things. First is the correct mindset of the people who will be deploying the automation and using the automation, that automation is not a solve for all your problems. Automation is an aid to help you solve your problems. If you do not use automation correctly, it will do more damage than good. Hence the correct mindset that if automation is done correctly, if it is used correctly, if the correct inputs are given, if the users are using it correctly, only then will it give you the correct value, is the first thing that needs to be in place for automation to succeed. The second one is uh, having the correct software in place. Uh, Nido works more from a hardware side, from a from an automation perspective. While we do make a software, we are more of a hardware-based automation company. If you do not have the correct ERP or a WMS in place, no other physical automation will fully help you solve your problem. And if you have some form of a software in place, right, you would have some form of IDing or tagging. It could be an RFID, it could be a barcode. You'd have that in place as well. So you'll have your barcoding or RFIDing and your software. A combination of both of these is what is going to help you truly use automation along with the correct mindset of the people. And the third one is for you to ensure that you have processes in place. Many a times, even if people have the right mindset, people
Hmm.
have the software that they've invested in, people have the barcoding on their packages, but they have no systems or processes that they have set up, that causes failure. The best way is if you have set up processes and systems, and if you can do those manually, automation is going to help them do those manual systems or processes better. If you have nothing
Right.
in place, you put in automation. Automation has no clue what it needs to do, and it's either a wrong solution or it is creating more problems, and that is going to make automation even worse for you. So it's A, the mindset; B, some form of software and IDing; and C is having the correct processes defined in place. Then adopt automation for it to give you complete value for the money that you'd be investing into it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Automating the wrong process is like adding fuel to the fire, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
You're just gonna accelerate the wrong things as opposed
yeah,
to make things better.
exactly. Exactly. I think interesting point that you brought up about mindset. So, uh, assuming that automation is a tool, and the way you use a tool defines the output of the work. I mean, rather than like, again going back to the earliest that it's not a silver bullet. Uh, Changing mindset, especially among users, is probably one of the more harder things because solving the technical part, the operational part, is like I guess one part of the problem, but getting the buy-in from both the people who approve the decision to automate as well as people who need to use automation both become like fairly crucial challenges in kind of getting long-term, at least a long-term outcome that is favorable to both you as a provider as well as a user. I think your experience of the past 15 years, do you think that has changed in India to become more pro? I get what this means versus is there still a lot of hesitation, resistance to say that I don't want to change, I'm happy with the status as it is, and this is just going to make my life a lot more difficult?
So we are far better placed than we were, let's say, about 8 or 9 years ago. 8 or 9 odd years ago, there was no true understanding of automation. There was a thought that automation is meant for the bigger, more complex or international companies, as opposed to every company, right? That was the mindset, that was a thought process back in the day. Uh, we luckily had the early movers, early adopters who said, let us adopt automation and see how it works for us. They were also the sort of users who helped us shape and define what automation works for the India mindset, right? So, through the journey of the last 7 or 8 years, there has been an improvement where the early adopters have adopted automation, they have made the mistakes, they have improved upon the mistakes, and they've sort of made automation work for them. We have a lot
Hmm.
more people who are seeing the early adopters, have seen their success, have seen what they've done wrong, and now the so-called followers are okay to consider automation. They are okay to assess automation, not saying that they will adopt automation right away. There is still a small bit of resistance, but at least it is not as extreme as it used to be 7 or 8 years ago. And there are two reasons why they are okay with exploring automation now. Number one, like I mentioned, is them witnessing the growth story and the benefits of automation with the early adopters, and the early adopters making a mistake, improving upon it. So now what works is sort of known. That's number one. Number two is through the years, not just Nido, but many other solution providers like ourselves, right? They have been able to adapt automation for India, making it more accessible. So the storyline here is automation in India has become a lot more accessible now, meaning a lot more people can consider using it and get a good return on their investment, as opposed to back in the day where something of this kind was not available. Because of this availability of uh, easy, quick deployed, very accessible, quick ROI automation, which is solving the India needs, because they are now seeing that there's a lot more of an acceptance that, you know what, automation could work for us, automation could be for us. Let's explore it, let's talk about it. Whether we truly invest into it is a different discussion, but at least the mindset is let's explore automation. It's no longer just for the big or the elite, it's for everyone.
What I wanted to kind of also understand is you mentioned that certain things are kind of shaping up. One, social proof, that certain leading companies have deployed automation. So that
Correct.
becomes social proof, others kind of follow on, say, if they have tried and it's working for them, then it's worthwhile for us to try. And the second thing you mentioned was the ease of deployment, the ease of adoption into the process become a lot better compared to the past. Now, apart from like that's a technical aspect, right? So improving the deployability of the product, making it easier to adopt, has generally does make it easier to implement, and that kind of brings out the ROI timelines a lot better. Are you seeing anything else technologically making that driving that some of the adoption a little bit more? Things like you said, better integration with the software, or better tagging systems that are in place today versus a while ago. Are there any other technical trends that you've seen in the past few years and are seeing now that is making that adoption slash deployability much easier than before?
So I'm not sure how I would answer that question in terms of technological changes, but in terms of the solutions that are available, because there is history, because there is experience, they have been standardized to a great extent. And if it is standardized, if it is made easy to understand, made very simple for anyone to use, uh, it gets more acceptance, right? And that is the change that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years, especially after COVID, where if you're able to give a standard product to somebody, there's a lot faster adoption of the same as opposed to a more complex customized solution. So from a technology perspective, it's not a technical point. It's more
Mm.
of how do you make something perfect as opposed to something that is different or complex. I'll give an example of the automotive industry. Uh, the moment you standardize a four wheeler, there was great acceptance, right? Now, a four wheeler takes you from point A to point B. You could have some form of a heli motor combo that could be at the same price point, could solve the same problem, might just have a few better features, but it is not widely accepted because it is not standard. And there could be 15 different combinations. There could be a lot of confusion. There could be a lack of trust. There could be multiple different things. But the moment you standardize something, it's very easy for people to accept it. Uh, and that is what is the so-called change that has been brought about in the industry, which is making people take to automation a lot more, as opposed to, like I mentioned, the more complex or unique solves to problems. Let's put it that way.
Got it. Interesting. I mean, I think kind of want to shift a little bit from like market to a little bit more about your experience building the company. Um, so I think maybe I'll start with one specific point that you brought up earlier, where moving from customized solutions to creating more standardized products that you can kind of plug and play, put together.
Correct.
I mean, we have gone through a similar kind of shift internally, and apart from external forces of customers, there's also a lot of internal things that you need to sort out. Right, one, your team has been used to doing a certain thing a certain way. you build a team around that project slash customized process implementation before. So in that journey from moving from that customized approach to a more standardized approach, what was your internal journey like within the company in terms of making that standardization happen, apart from the customer acceptance?
Lovely question. It's been challenging, and it's the journey is still on. We have not yet been able to achieve it, but it's a journey, right? There's never going to be an end point to it. Uh, it's simple, right? The typical India mindset. Now, I'm not fully sure how that works in other markets. I'll speak for India. I'll speak for our company. Uh, you're an engineer. You like creating problems. You like solving for those problems that you've created, right? So the kick is in trying to do something new, something unique, something different every morning. Same is true for our engineering, our development, our manufacturing team. The moment there's a new problem to solve, they get a lot more excited. The moment you need to tell them that, you know what, hey, let's not solve for a new problem every morning. Let's stick to one, solve, but make it so good that you can churn that thing out day in, day out, and it's made such that everyone is able to use it. Uh, it's a huge mindset shift. And as an engineering company, that doesn't come as easily A to the founder or the management team, and B to the people who are actually executing the tasks that are given by the management. For me, the realization came again right after COVID, where we were growing as a company, doing good work, but beyond a point, as we grew, so did the mistakes, so did the errors, so did the rework, so did supply chains falling apart, so did errors in production, purely because if it's a smaller group, smaller team, lesser number of projects, if it's customized, you could do it. The moment you try scaling customization, it becomes an extremely difficult challenge. And in India, there's always the pressure of price points. So you can't, when you are scaling up, if you want to scale up and do customized solutions, you need to get good margins for you to sustain. India, that's difficult. Margins are always on the lower side. And if you need to scale with lower margins and with engineering solutions, you need to productize, you need to standardize. You look at all global companies that have scaled and grown, they have focused on standardization. The moment I realized we will not be able to scale up beyond a point if we do not focus on standard solutions, was the moment. It was more of a eureka moment for myself, which came about 3 or 4 odd years ago. And then it's been a journey of me trying to explain this to our team and getting them to realize that this is what we should focus on. It's been quite a journey. It's been sessions where I've had with the team where I've tried to explain things. It's been a lot of team members learning from the mistakes and then realizing, you know what, we made this mistake. Here's this huge loss because of us trying to reinvent the wheel every morning. There's a huge amount of attrition, which is common to engineering companies in India. With attrition, that knowledge bank sort of goes away. All of these things, these learnings over the years have led to a lot of the people changing their mindset. But what I recently realized in the last year was more than them learning from their mistakes or me trying to state something to the team. The more I expose them to international companies, the more they realize what is a change that A, me, and B, the management is expecting. That's when we had a lot of our team members visit multiple different countries, either for trade shows or to factory visits, to understand how are other
Hmm.
factories building to scale. And soon they realize, you know what, we have 15 different models for the exact same thing. 14 do not sell, one sells, but we still keep on making 15. Just focus on that one product. Learn to say no to a customer. You do not need to say yes to every customer. Learn to say no. Focus on what you do good and do that so brilliantly well that everyone comes to you for that product. That is what you are known for. Um, Luckily, with the whole international trips and the international exposure, people have realized this a lot more. So we are seeing that change where our team members are now finally accepting the whole thought process that A, you should standardize, B, we as a company can create, develop, and standardize new unique solutions which need not be there in the market. We could be market creators. We could come up with something new on our own and make it work, as opposed to trying to look at companies outside see what they're doing and try to imitate that. So it's been a journey. It's still ongoing, but we have seen good traction. We've made a lot of errors, a lot of losses, a lot of lost customers, and regained those customers in this journey. But it's been rewarding. So no complaints.
Yeah, interesting. I think one point that you did make that you had 15 solutions, one which was selling pretty well, and the other 14 not, but you still kind of support all of them. Absolutely understand. But I think at the same time, if you had not customized at the start, do you think you would have been able to find that one which sells versus being able to assume from the get go that this is the one that's going to sell for us?
No, so you're fully correct. Had we not done 15, we would not know what is that one. So you need to make those 15, you need to make those mistakes, you need to try multiple different things before you're able to realize that that one works. Uh, Customizing or doing 15 things is not wrong, but not being able to realize that while you're doing 15 right now, you need to choose one. If you lack that realization, is where the problem begins. As a kid
Yep.
studying in school, you do all of your subjects, all of your languages, all of your math, science, biology, whatever it is, right? There's a point where you choose, you know what, I need to focus more on this and let go other things to a certain extent. uh, as a company, we are lucky we were able to realize that and sort of move towards it. It's not always that easy. A lot of people get lost in the complex that, you know what, if I stop making a couple of products, I might lose some customers. And you will lose a few customers, you will lose a few orders. But the gain that could come about by losing those few orders, those few customers, um, the upside could be a lot bigger if you execute that one single product well. So yes, we did make 15. We did learn from all of those. Hence, we were able to figure out what that one or what those two products are. We have not completely stopped those 15 either. While we still do it, what we did is we made two different verticals out of it. The thought process required to make a very good product is very different from the thought process required to make a very good custom solution. A custom solution needs a lot more thinking, needs a lot more time, and needs a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Whereas a standard product needs to be churned out very quickly. It needs to be the product needs to be managed well so that you figured what the customers will truly need, and you need to provide that at scale. That's when you have a good control over your price points. When we had the same teams working on both, um, our products team was taking too longer, was getting too expensive, whereas our projects team was delivering stuff which was at a very, very low margin. So it was a very mixed thought process. So a realization was you segregate your teams, one team for products, one team for solutions, very different mindset, a very different mindset out here. And we began recruiting and switching members within the teams where a person's mindset fit more towards either a product or a solution. So I'm not saying you should stop one and continue the other. Both are important, both required, but there needs to be focus on each. And if you truly want to scale, then standard product is the way to go. Is our learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll kind of circle back to what you mentioned earlier about ease of deployment, ease of adoption. I think for us as well, the learning was if you customize too much, you also compromise on that particular KPI which you set for yourself and for customers. Because over time, realize the only way to deliver things faster while making sure quality is maintained is to start standardizing what you deliver. Otherwise, too many moving pieces internally within the organization, and there's no one clear owner anymore because you have different things being built by different people. And you start having these silos of knowledge being maintained across your organization without someone actually being able to start optimizing for things.
I think one more understanding, or let's call it realization, is uh, when you're not mature, when somebody speaks very is very verbose or complicates things too much when they speak, you believe that person's too smart. As you mature, you realize that somebody who's able to simplify things and explain those in a very simple manner are the smarter ones. The same
Yeah.
realization with automation or with machines, right? When you're making machines as an early entrepreneur or as an early engineer, you want to create more complex solves to problems, right? Uh, if you're able to make a good product, what that shows is you understood the true nature of the industry, the true requirement, and an understanding that no matter what product, the process within a warehouse will still be inbound, a QC, a put away, a picking, some form of consolidation, some form of sorting, some form of manifestation or a packaging. Then there's going to be some form of segregation by a courier partner or a truck or something of that kind. It's essentially everyone does the exact same thing, right? This understanding, this learning, and making a product that solves for these things shows your maturity and your understanding of the market a lot better, as opposed to making a complex product always. That realization is what changes your mindset, your team's mindset, and also a customer respecting you a lot more, understanding well that now you know your industry a lot better. And when they then speak with you, they will trust what you're stating because you are the expert who's defined this category in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think keeping it simple is one of the hardest problems to solve. Means internally you have to figure out a lot of things in order to kind of deliver on that.
Yeah, yeah.
I had another area of, I mean, at least internally, this has been a big area of conversation is about talent. Because if you want to start creating, like you pointed out, benchmarks for your industry, for your product class, then you need the talent to go along with it, right? And in India, like you pointed out, is going through maturity in terms of engineering talent, automation talent. How are you? I mean, maybe I'll share some of our examples. Like we have certain problem statements we want to solve, which unfortunately is very hard to find people who have solved it before. And generally, the approach is to look for someone who is smart, knows how to, in many cases, look at it from a first principles point of view, and iterate very quickly. So the speed of iteration matters a lot in terms of solving certain problems. But it's very hard to find people from with that exact kind of background that you want, with that ability to iterate very quickly and solve for time span that you want to have. Because especially for startups, a year long time to get a feature out doesn't really work for us. So we have to kind of think about how to get something out in a much shorter time frame, and finding talent or resources who think like this, not just from the engineering perspective, but all the way from sales, your solutions, your project team, all the way to product team. Every team having its own different flavor of mindset, but speed of moving forward, the ability to say no to the wrong thing. I mean, areas
Exactly.
which you're not focusing on are not easy to find. How has that journey been for you? How do you think the market has evolved now compared to, let's say, 10 years ago with respect to this kind of talent?
It's been a very difficult journey. Let's put it that way. If you so Nido, we are not a funded company. We're a self-funded company. We're a bootstrap company, and we are a company that is focusing on growth and profitability. What that means is good value for money matters in terms of the resources, in terms of all the decisions that we take as a company, right? Uh, the talent pool is limited, which has the experience. B, within that limited talent pool, they would want to work with the more known names, bigger names, or companies that can obviously spend a lot more money. All of these three things, for the longest time, were not true for Nido. Uh, we had to come up with our own set of resources or our own set of talent, as opposed to trying to gather the talent from the industry. Early days, we thought if we try to groom our own talent, it will take a lot longer. We'd rather take in the resources from other companies who have the similar experience, and then maybe it can help the company. And similar to what we spoke about, Indian automation, trying to get somebody from or some solution from outside of India, deploying into India is not going to work. Same thing for talent. While the thought process is if we get some experienced talent from some other companies into our company and them scaling things up, we've sort of failed in that approach. So we've sort of sought that approach. The approach that we are taking is two. Number one is recruiting entrepreneurs. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in India. Not everyone succeeds. A lot of them, for various different reasons, might have had to stop their company for whatever reason, right? The moment you're an entrepreneur, you're able to think of things in multiple different dimensions. You're able to understand the business aspect of any decision that you're taking, and you're able to multitask. Uh, we have a lot of entrepreneurs who, for whatever reason, could not succeed in their own company, but they still have that drive. A lot of recruitment is of ex entrepreneurs, which sort of helps us move things in a faster manner. That's number one. Number two is, given our 15-year history, we have a lot of people in the company, a lot of them who are extremely talented, who have the potential, might not have the degree or the accolades from the best names, but still have the right mindset, the right thought process, and the right brains. We started grooming a lot of these members within our team. We have something called a future leaders program within the company, where myself and a couple of other senior management folks, we handpick these folks, we groom them, such that they are able to figure out 5 years, 7 years down the line, what is it that they want to reach up to. It could be um, a junior person with 2 years of experience who might want to focus on being a procurement or sourcing head. You could have somebody who's focusing on being the sales head. If you're able to map their entire journey within the company over the next 5 years, you show them uh, this is what you'll begin from, this is where you'll get to, and here is what you need to do in terms of your improvement, and we sort of help them and groom them. uh, the moment we began developing our future leaders from within the company, we've had a far better success rate as opposed to getting them from outside. So, future leaders program and recruiting entrepreneurs on the company has been two reasons for us that has helped us get talent in a difficult market. Um, because if you want the best from the industry that has worked in other companies, A, it might not work, B, it's too expensive, something that might not justify to a company our size. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think great points. I mean, I think in the long term, culture slash mindset plays a huge difference versus what
Sure.
the knowledge base is when they come into the company. Absolutely. I think maybe shift away a little bit. What's your perspective, just about like outlook for the future now, in terms of what you think the next year is going to look like, especially as a company and from respect to automation in India? How do you see the journey, or how do you see the roadmap or the ecosystem evolving over the next couple of years?
So I'll answer it in two parts. Number one is the outlook and where we see ourselves right now and X number of years down the line, and the same thing for the ecosystem. From a Nido perspective, I think we are very lucky. We are very um, well placed in terms of our products, in terms of our team, in terms of our customer base. Uh, the base is set. Uh, we know what we're doing. We know why we're doing it. We know how to do it. It's just taking it to a lot bigger an audience. If we execute well, nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that is rocket science, just the basics that we have anyways done in the last few years. If we can just execute that well, just given the India growth story, just given the fact that, like we discussed earlier, a lot of the late adopters are looking towards mechanization, are looking towards automation, are looking towards solutions that have worked in India, which have a quick ROI, scalable, modular solutions. That's exactly what we have sort of mastered in India. Uh, and a bigger segment of the customers is looking for that, which means the market is available to us, the product is available to us, the team is, and the history or the legacy is. If we just execute things well, we believe we've got a great future, uh, not only in India but markets outside of India as well. People are looking towards automation. People are understanding automation. People know Nido. People understand what we've done. So I think it's a great outlook for the next 5 or 7 odd years. At the same time, there's a lot of the learnings that we keep on getting from our customers when we deploy solutions. Now, these learnings are what tell us what sort of products, what sort of features, what sort of innovations we should be focusing on. So, nothing a big, hairy, audacious goal sort of a deal. Small, simple steps, executing it quickly, and then perfecting it is what we focus on as a company. That's what has helped us, and that's what we'll continue doing. Uh, Learn from what the customers want and then give it to the customers. If it works, great. If not, you tweak it, make it better, improvise, and then you give it back to the customers once again. That's from a Nido perspective. Uh, We believe there's a lot more work that will be required from an AI and a vision perspective on top of our automation solutions. Robotics will play an important role. Robotics, not in the typical sense of a robotic arm or a humanoid or just a AGV or an AMR moving. Robotics could mean a lot of other movement of goods and applications, which does not require human intervention. We believe there's a huge room for work to be done in that domain. So I believe vision, AI, robotics is where things will move towards. As a company, we also are focusing on solutions for very small, compact areas. We spoke of 30,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet. Things are now changing. There's a lot more of your quick commerce. There's a lot more of your dark stores. There's a lot more of your very quick deliveries. What that means is for the very small setups inside a city, you still need automation. And deploying
Mhm.
automation in a very small space that gives ROI is not easy. We are focusing on developing automation for very small areas. And if we succeed, we believe there's a huge potential for all urban areas, A in India, B outside of India. So from a Nido perspective, I think it's a fantastic outlook. From an ecosystem perspective, I think India is shaping up beautifully well. I've said this to people, and I'm sure you'll agree with this as well. Uh, Whatever I see in Germany or the US 10 years ago, or whatever I saw in China about 5 odd years ago, is a reality in India right now. Uh, those 5 years or those 10 years is shrinking. What that means is what you would have seen in Germany about 6 odd years ago, or in China about 2 or 3 odd years ago, is something that will be coming into India right now. The entire ecosystem in India has developed reasonably well. There is a whole lot of companies that is working on vision, that is working on robotics, working on intralogistics automation, and working on all the other peripheral stuff. Manufacturing is booming, manufacturing is growing. A lot of new young graduates are focusing towards automation, engineering, and manufacturing. The trust in the Indian startups is increasing day by day, which was not the case earlier. All of these factors mean the ecosystem is shaping up well. The demand is there, and you have the right talent pool, which is either homegrown or homegrown, gone somewhere abroad, now willing to come back and contribute to the market. So, overall, given the growth size potential of the market and the ecosystem also improving, I think it's perfect time for India to do something that has happened in China or in other Western markets. It's the right time for India. If we do it well, fantastic. If we do not do it well, it would be a shame and would not lead to the growth of the country. So hoping and praying that things work out for the better in India, ecosystem performs well, and then we do well as a company, as a country.
Absolutely. I think likewise. I think seeing a lot more activities, a lot more good companies coming out, and like you pointed out, the product is no longer being looked as okay, this may not be a good product. I think starting to accept that products
Yes.
from companies in India are hitting the same level of performance as what they would get anywhere else. I think on that basis, do you see as the ecosystem evolves both within India and globally in the robotic space, do you think there's opportunities for a lot more company to intercompany collaborations to create or solve problems which may not have been solved by one, may not have been possible to solve by one company entirely on their own? The reason I'm talking about this is, for example, in Europe, especially in uh, areas around Denmark, there are certain places where there's generally a lot of collaboration between companies, which creates or moves the needle a little bit faster for each company involved. Same thing in the US. I think there's a mass robotics group which brings companies together to create that ecosystem to collaborate or environment to collaborate, and that fosters things to move a little bit faster. And I think, like you said, resources wise, technical expertise wise, maybe potential customers which maybe which as two companies can provide complementary products to. From the perspective of India and the perspective of India with other Indian companies or other companies from outside of India, do you see that being a more active form of a more active engagement in that respect happening moving forward, or do you feel like it's still going to be very kind of siloed operation, siloed development?
100% it moves towards more collaboration, 100%, and that's for sure. And that's not just India, that has happened globally. across countries, across geographies that has happened. It's a matter of the industry maturing. Uh, like our company or within each company, you begin with doing everything on your own, and then you realize you should be doing one thing and doing it brilliantly well. As an ecosystem, a lot of the companies have now started realizing that they cannot do everything on their own. They can do one or two things very well on their own, and for everything else, while they could do it, they will not be able to do it as well. Hence, you need to collaborate or partner with other companies. It could be competition, it could be a complementary industry, it could be somebody up in the supply chain or lower in the supply chain. Collaboration, working together with competition, with customers, with the entire ecosystem is a must, is a given, is what is happening in India right now. Although at a very early stage, it will groom, it will mature, it will happen a lot more over the next 2 or 3 years. So it's a guarantee that it will happen. It has started happening. It's not at the level of collaboration as it is in other geographies, but in the next 2 or 3 years, that will change as people get more confident, as the companies mature, and as they begin realizing and trusting, realizing that others are also doing well, and trusting that not everyone here is either to cheat or do things wrong. Everyone here is here to do well, grow, and increase the size of the pie. The pie is big, getting bigger. There is room for everyone to do good work and make good money. Hence, collaboration is just going to accelerate that good as opposed to mitigating that good.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing which I've also been very personally interested in, right? How do you, like you said, even if you can do something, there it doesn't mean that you have to do it. So how do you focus on what is important for you, and how do you kind of collaborate a lot more to give something to customers which maybe more, a lot more powerful than what you can provide alone. So 100% agree. Maybe I think since we're kind of towards the end of the session, maybe we can conclude by asking you if there's one message that you want to leave the audience with, or maybe a couple of messages, right? One to a founder who's starting off in the space, and another to a potential customer who's thinking about getting into the journey. If you want to leave one message for either of those, both of those kind of audience, what would that be?
So, one message to all entrepreneurs or people who are starting: uh, focus on quick execution as opposed to overthinking, overcomplicating, trying to wait for the perfect product, perfect moment, and then rolling it out. Uh, Sitting and thinking doesn't help as much as creating something, an MVP, and having it out there in the market. Have people use it, let it fail. The failures will teach you a lot more. Being on the shop floor, having your product being used by people will help you a lot more, as opposed to sitting and thinking and trying to make the perfect product. So act quick, act fast, do not wait and watch. Quick action helps, is what has been our learning at Nido, something that I personally believe in. It has helped me not just once, but multiple times over in various different decisions as a company that I have taken, as a founder that I have taken, right? That's number one. From a customer perspective, the message is again simple. Uh, do not overcomplicate. If your operations need automation, start with simple automation. Figure out automation that you can begin will grow with you, as opposed to hoping that, you know what, the moment my operations become huge is when I'll get the best automation that is available out there. You do not need to wait for that. uh, Automation is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity. Deploy it. Once you deploy it is when you realize, when you'll make the mistakes, you'll figure what processes are not in place, you'll then figure out the processes, you'll figure out the mistakes, and then solve for it. And that's when you step by step deploy automation or deploy anything that is better for your operations, and you keep on growing. Small steps, baby steps, as opposed to one giant leap is my recommendation to customers as well. So in a way similar to both customers and vendors, baby steps, do it quick as opposed to overcomplicating it. Keep it simple.
Love it. Keep it simple, small steps, move quick. I
Yep.
think, yeah,
That is
great, great.
the nicely summarized. I should use those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it totally works as well for when we're working with your team. Thanks,
Definitely.
Niro. It's been an absolute pleasure. Love talking to you. Really, really appreciate the input, and I'm pretty sure it's a productive one for everyone listening in as well.
Perfect. Rahul, thank you so much. It was a pleasure connecting and speaking. I hope it was interesting, and to a certain few people, it could shed a little bit more light on how things are happening in India, in the industry, in the domain, and to new entrepreneurs, a certain takes on our experiences over the last 15 years.
Perfect. Thanks,
Perfect.
Nirav.